So there's a danger zone where military jets take off and land at Buckley Space Force Base in Aurora. That accident potential zone limits development in Aurora, including in the area where we told you a long ago swingers club turned city rec center is about to close because the building's crumbling. This is important because the rec center cannot be rebuilt in place for fear that someday a plane might drop out of the sky onto it. Our Marshall Zellinger explains.
Back can be seen right through those flagpoles to the right of the memorial there.
From the Colorado Freedom Memorial in Aurora, you can see the soon-to-be-closed Beck Recreation Center.
This is okay, but not over there.
Where Councilman Steve Sundberg is standing, a new visitor center is planned for the Colorado Freedom Memorial.
And it's just right outside this accident protection zone for the flight path of the base.
The Buckley APZ, Accident Potential Zone, is a boundary that limits development just in case of an aircraft crash around the Buckley runways. The APZ designation limits development that has more than 50 residents or regular visitors per acre. It limits development that requires utilities that can't be disrupted for an extended period of time, like phone or gas service. And it limits development if there are kids or elderly or people who can't get away from an emergency on their own. The Beck Rec Center that is closing has 2 preschool classrooms, but because the rec center was here before the regulations, it got to stay. It just can't be rebuilt.
You might have a C-130 coming at you this way, or a couple of F-16s, and they want a little bit of elbow room in case one goes down, apparently.
This location is now elbowed out. The city does not yet know if or when it will rebuild the only rec center in Northeast Aurora. There's a feasibility study underway, which includes trying to figure out how to pay for a new one.
Is the federal government, can they kick in? Can they chip in through grant monies, perhaps? That'd be nice. You're saying, no, we can't build it. Well, then help us out in some fashion.
At a time when the federal government is slashing expenses, Sundberg sees this zone as a potential for some cash.
I think I might try and link arms with Congressman Crow on this one and see if we can pull some strings.
The office of Democratic Congressman Jason Crow will get back to me tomorrow on if that's even a thing. Could federal money pay for a new rec center because of Department of Defense regulations that were enacted after the rec center was built and has to go down?
This is interesting stuff, Marshall. But as you rightly point out, obviously, there are cuts being made to a number of areas in the federal budget, but defense spending is something the Trump administration has shown a willingness to spend on, but might that trickle all the way down to defense spending for a rec center in Aurora, Colorado?
Sundberg told me that he thought 20 years ago Navy SEALs used the pool at Beck Rec Center to train, and he wasn't quite sure if any of the military members use that rec center or perhaps have kids in that preschool that could make a connection to say, not only are your regulations keeping us from building it there, but you also had members that used it, thus justifying why you should spend some money on the new one.
Well, that's a bit of a stretch. If you have an even older story about physical exercise that you enjoyed at that property, keep that story to yourself. We are only soliciting stories from the rec center era onward. You don't have to respond to that, Marshall. You don't have to respond to that at all. Thanks, sir.